you're tuning in for the first time, I'm Amber Adams, a romance writer, and this is Romance in the Media. Hooray! So I have some good news for everybody out there. My novel, Star Spark Games of the Gods Book 1, is available in ebook and paperback. You can get it on places like Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, anywhere online you can shop for books, you can get it. Book 2 for Games of the Gods will be coming out this summer. So stay tuned for that. I'll be doing a cover release, a cover preview coming up soon for it. So stay tuned for that. If you're into gods, monsters, you know, romance, the hot dudes, the brilliant ladies, mysterious plots, then you should totally check it out. So I would like to talk about something amazing, and that's the historical romance genre. One of my all-time favorite authors out there is someone called Brenda Joyce. I found her in good old 1998, you know, back in the day, where you used to shop for your books in bookstores, actual bookstores, and the supermarkets. You would go to the rack of novels and you would find your jewel. You would find your gem. And I was looking for a romance that didn't have something like Fabio on the cover with his windblown hair and his muscles all out and everything. I didn't want some cheesy novel cover like that. So luckily I saw this novel cover and I'm like, oh, that's subtle and cute and pretty. Let me check it out. So I flipped it open, looked at the, you know, the little teaser that was given in the front. I'm like, this sounds interesting. I think I'll pick this up. And so I did. I'm going to tell you, my life was forever changed. And from the very first page, I was hooked on this writer, okay? She is phenomenal. She's retired now. But she wrote for many, many years, since the, you know, the mid-90s, I want to say. Maybe even the 80s. Wow. Her work has won awards and everything. But she is such a great writer that she just pulls you in and immerses you in this world of historical romance. And that's where my heart started. Yeah, I discovered Brenda Joyce in around 1998. Yes, a long time ago. But yeah, she is somebody I wanted to kind of emulate. I wanted to be kind of like her. So that's sort of where I started. I started writing my first historical romance. I'm like, oh, I could do this. This is excellent. This is amazing. This is mine. I've got it. This is a perfect story. Oh, it's great. And back then, the way you had to look for agents was you had to send out actual query letter packages, okay? Everything now is digital. Amazing. Great. It's so much easier now to send documents and stuff, but back then you had to print out your first 3 chapters, the synopsis, and the query letter. So can you imagine how expensive that was going to be? To send it out, put yourself out there, and to only get rejected 50 or more times. Yes, that's how many I sent. Oh gosh, I still remember going to the print shop. Oh my gosh, 50 times of 3 chapters, which could be like 20, 25 pages, 30 pages, depending on how big your chapters are. And they had to be double spaced. And so, yeah, it gets expensive. And to only receive rejections. Yeah, I was crushed. I was wondering, why isn't this working? How come nobody likes it? What's wrong with it? Oh, it was devastating. It broke my heart. And I would just cry into the novels that I loved the most. And I went around looking for more Brenda Joyce novels because those seem to make me happy. So I went to our tiny little used bookstore in our small little town of Auburn, California, which is like an hour or so away from Sacramento, Northern California. You know, it's woodsy and trees and nothing stayed open past 9 o'clock. I mean, now if you go there, things stay open later, but back then in the 90s when we had just moved up there, it was everything. There was nothing to do except for read. So I went to look, and luckily for me, I found at least 5 of her titles at a used bookstore. They cost about $1, so I paid. I got all of them. And I was drowning my sorrow. I was wondering why isn't my writing not working? At least these books are cheering me up. And so, as I sit now and I looked back at why my novel didn't appease anybody, it's because it was terrible. It was so bad. I'm like, I have come such a long way from where I was. And then I also realized why. You know, my heart really wasn't in historical romance. I loved reading it, but I didn't have as much fun writing it as I thought it was. I just wanted to be like Brenda Joyce because she was awesome and she told a great tale. And I also started reflecting on, you know, when you get the rejections, you're wondering why you suck. Why does nobody like it? Why? I was always able to tell a pretty good story, even if my grammar and spelling was way off. I had a couple of learning disabilities growing up. I'm able to now, I was able to refocus and move my brain the way it's supposed to go. It took many years without medication because back in the 80s and 90s, you couldn't really diagnose these things. You know, and if you could, there were no medications to help like there are now. You know, I had to develop tricks of my own to put my brain back on track. Like, even once in a while, my brain will still zone out. I'll just think and just like, I'll be gone. There's like nothing. And then my brain is like thinking on some weird level, just pulling out, and then somebody has to snap me back to reality. Sometimes I can pull myself back into reality, but I just focused elsewhere. It's like my brain decides to go on holiday for a minute. And I'm like, nope. Let's go back to reality. Ha! So, brain comes back. I'm still wondering why my writing, it's so bad and it sucks. Why does it suck? I'm a horrible writer, blah, blah, blah. And then there was this one English teacher I had. She's like, you tell a really good story, minus your grammar and spelling, but you can also get help for people to help you with those. You can get that fixed, you know, don't let that, you know, dissuade you. Is that a word? I don't know. Don't let these, you know, these issues stop you from doing what you want to do. Because you can tell a good story. You just, you know, your grades, you know, my grades weren't that great. They were okay. You know, I wasn't failing or anything, but they were okay. But she's like, yeah. And then my teacher started naming off a couple of other authors that had the same struggles and same disabilities that I had. And they're like, look how successful they are. Look how well they can tell a story. And they shared that in common with me. So that kind of inspired me a little bit more to keep going and not just give up, because disabilities, they might slow you down a little, but don't let them stop you from doing what you want to do, because you can overcome them. You do whatever it takes to make sure you do what you want to do. So yeah, I kept going, and then back in the early 2000s, I want to say right around 2006, somewhere between 2006 and 2008, Brenda Joyce set up her own website and a message board where she would talk to us. You know, she would send messages. There would be like this one night she'd pick 8 o'clock and I'll answer your questions. I'll talk to the fans. I'll talk to you guys. You guys are awesome. And so I was talking to her about a couple of my what I felt was you know, my issues with the writing and how I should just maybe I should give up. Maybe I'm in the wrong. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. She was like, no, you're not doing anything wrong. You just, she told me, I don't know, I doubt she remembers this. She's so busy, and that's a million years ago for a writer. Talking to people on message boards when those don't really do anything anymore. But she said that she told me to write the story I want to read, to not give up, and just because your idea isn't popular now doesn't mean it won't be popular later, because the market is always changing. People's tastes always change. Just don't give up and keep going. Keep moving forward. It's a great line. Keep moving forward. And I think if it was someone else who told me that, I really wouldn't believe it, because she knows what she's talking about. She's professional. She's been professional for 30 years. She knows her stuff, and she knows. And she's like, your heart just might not be in historical romance. I'm like, I don't think it is. I love reading it, but writing it is not my thing. I was also a huge lover of fantasy novels, like, and fantasy movies. You have The Never-Ending Story, the book. I read that. Well, I got that with my mom, okay? When I was, a kid, we read that book together, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this book is so cool. And then we saw the movie, and then I saw, I watched Willow, the original movie, not what Disney Plus has put out. I have issues with that, but that's for another video. And Legend, Tim Curry as Darkness, this big, horned evil Satan demon thing. Oh my gosh, that was such a good movie. Oh, I was in love with fantasy. And so I found fantasy for me is kind of where I wanted to be, but I also wanted to write, epic romance into that as well. So I started playing around a little bit. And then I came across, the Harry Potter books. I was listening to my mom read them to my brother. I'd be napping on the couch and she'd be reading out loud to him. And then I'm like, oh, that actually sounds like an interesting story. So I started listening. And then I started reading the books myself. And I'm like, oh, these are really good. And then I came across something online. This was back when the internet was still kind of new for searching. So there wasn't a lot of sites and everything yet. They were just starting to gain, popularity and momentum. And one of the very first fan fiction sites was this small little one. It only had a couple of fan fictions, but people can comment on them. So it's like, oh, okay, let me see if I can write one of these fan fiction things of Harry Potter. There's a couple here. I could do this. And so I did, and I was able to get some feedback, and it was helpful, and then I was able to grow more as a writer in the fan fiction community because they are encouraging and they are helpful. Some people were mean, but hey, you just got to take the good with the bad. I tried not to harp on it too much, just kept going. I found that writing epic fantasy ideas and intertwining them with romance was where I was supposed to be this whole time. Instead of trying to force myself to be like somebody else because I wanted to be like her because she told such great stories. I'm like, I want to be like that. No, you need to find yourself. I needed to find myself. And she might have led me on the path to finding where I would be as a writer. But fantasy is where I wanted to be, and I love them. And the only issue that I have found when trying to query my Games of the God series was they don't want to take chances on series. They don't want to, I'm considered a new author even though I've been writing for 100 years. But yeah, they consider me a new author. And they don't want to commit to 7 books in case the first book doesn't sell very well. So I decided to, try to do it independently. And I know that there will be struggles no matter which direction I would have gone if I still tried to continue to query my God series. but the thing is, I don't write what is popular. Yeah, I'm not into vampire stories. I'm not into shifter stories. I like gods. I like monsters. I like swords. I like epic, sexy, hot romance. So I'm putting that, I'm writing the book I want to write. Oh, I want to read. I'm writing the book I want to read. That's where you should always be, that's where you should always have your focus, is write the book you want to read. So I did that, and it's a wonderful story. It's fun. It's not vampires. It's not shifters. It's not, hot guys turning into wolves or were-tigers or were-panthers, whatever the wares are. I don't specialize in that area. I don't know. It's not for me. If you love it, great. I'm so happy for you that you love them, because those are your treasures. Those are your babies. Kind of like how Brenda Joyce is mine. I love her stuff. She even tried to write the paranormal romance. She had shifters in hers, and I read those too, and I'm like, I love them, but they don't have the same pull for me as her historical romance does, which is where her heart totally lies, is within the historical romance. But the publishers, they wanted what was hot, what was popular, and that was shifter romances. That was, a modern girl getting sent back in time, blah, blah, blah. I got that part. I got that stuff going on. But, yeah. And I know she was a little hesitant to start that series because that's not where her heart lied, but she still was able to make it happen, and it worked pretty good. I liked it, but still, her historical romance is where is like the best stuff, because that's who she is. That's her heart. That's her writing heart. Just like fantasy romance is my writing heart. Historical romance is not my writing heart. I love to read it. I read her. I read Julia Quinn. I've read, Joanna Lindsay. I've read all the big writers from like the 90s and the 2000s, the early 2000s. I've read all those hot, sexy romances, and I'm like, yeah, I love reading it, but I'm not keen on writing them. But yeah, I don't know where I would be today if it wasn't for Brenda Joyce and that message board, helping me to not give up, and the teachers that help me to not give up, not to let the disabilities slow, to drag me down. And I can tell a good story, but keep going. Don't stop. Just keep on going. You've got this. You can do this. So anyone else out there who may struggle with dyslexia, learning disabilities, you see letters upside down, backwards, there are ways you can help yourself. You can get medications, you can develop techniques that work and pull yourself out of your struggles. It's still a struggle today, yes, but the main thing is we just keep going. We don't let this try to stop us, because nothing can. We are strong, we are powerful, we can do this. So yeah, Brenda Joyce and all of my teachers, they've inspired me in such ways that I don't know, my life would be completely different if I did not have these people and these novels in my life. And I am forever thankful and grateful that I stumbled across her just randomly looking for a book to read. And it's like, it changes my whole path. It changed my life. But yeah, so that's it for today, So go and pick up a Brenda Joyce novel if you haven't yet. You will not be disappointed. It is so fun and exciting. The books are super hot and super romantic. And yes, just go check it out. Until next time, friends, I will see you soon. La, da, da, da.